I don't need any of them. You just keep them things away from me. Just fire it up and go. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Good evening and welcome to the November 7th, 2024 Brookings County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. This meeting is being recorded, televised, and viewable on SwiftTel Channel 19, ITC Channel 168, or the Brookings County YouTube channel. I now call this meeting to order. Approval of minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Vanderwall, second.
Second.
Second by Paulson. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Items to be added to the agenda by commission members or staff.
We have nothing additional.
Just doing my staff report.
Okay.
We'll have a plat within there to withdraw.
Invitation for citizens to schedule a time on the commission agenda for an item not listed. Seeing none. Disclosure of conflicts of interest, relationship to the applicant or ex parte communication. None. Approval of agenda. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Motion by Bartley.
Second.
Second by Troyan. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We will now convene as the Brookings County Planning and Zoning Commission. The Brookings County Planning and Zoning Commission is a 9-member commission whose function is to recommend approval or disapproval of land use plans, zoning ordinances, subdivision plats, and amendments thereof to the Brookings County Commission. The commission makes its recommendation based upon the adopted comprehensive plan for the physical development of the unincorporated areas of Brookings County. As a matter of policy, all motions are made in positive. After a motion is moved and seconded, it is open for debate. Those supporting the motion shall in turn give their reasons. Those opposing the motion shall then offer their reasons. After everyone has been given a chance to be heard, the commission shall recommend approval or disapproval based on the testimony and information presented. A simple majority of a quorum of members of the Planning and Zoning Board in attendance is required to forward a recommendation. Moving on, agenda item 2024, plat 021, plat of Lot 2 of Olson Addition in the southeast 1/4 of Section 6, Township 112 North, Range 47W of the 5th Primary in Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion? Motion by Jensen.
Second.
Second by Vanderwall. Richard, would you read the staff report when you're ready?
Yes. (2024) Plat 021, Black Fork LLC is platting off Lot 2 containing 3 acres of an existing access easement to the property. A house cannot be built on Lot 2 as it does not meet the 35-acre requirement, but could be used to build an accessory building. And the plat does meet the platting requirements of the 2016 comprehensive plan as stated on page 24 for the agricultural land use. Here's a proposed plat. Go the right way here. Lot 1 is the existing building site, and this is Lot 2, the 3 acres that the Lot 1 owner will purchase to increase his acreage there. This is the beacon map with showing the Lot 1 right here. This is Lot 2. Will be bought by the acreage owner, current acreage owner. This shows the beacon map. That's all that I have, and I do not believe the applicant is here this evening.
Thank you, Richard. If the applicant isn't here, we'll move to the public hearing portion. Is anybody in the audiences for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that's opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, we'll now close the public hearing portion. Is there any additional comments or questions from the board? Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you call a vote?
Yes, Bartley.
Aye.
Paulson.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Starhog.
Aye.
Troyan.
Aye.
Jensen.
Yes.
and Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Moving on, agenda item 2024, plat 00022, plat of lots 3A, 4A, 5A, and 6A of Hafner Knoll Addition and Government Lot 3 of Section 22, Township 112, North Range 47W of the 5th Prime Reading, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Troyan.
Second.
Who had that?
Olson.
Paulson. Second Paulson. Richard, read your staff report.
2024, Plat 022, Lake Dreams LLC by Preston Metler submitted a plat of lots 3A, 4A, 5A, and 6A, meeting the minimum size requirement of 20,000 square feet. The lots were originally platted on April 9th, 2004, and then vacated on October 11th, 2006. The plat is replatting the lots back to their original size, and the lots are non-lakefront lots, and it meets the requirements of the Brookings County subdivision ordinance and the Lake Park zoning ordinance and the 2016 comprehensive plan for the unincorporated areas for lake use on page 11 for developed lots. This is the lots right here that they are replatting. Just shows the lots on the beacon map. Here it is now all one parcel after they vacated those lots in 2006. And that's all that I have, and the applicant is not here this evening.
Thank you, Richard. If the applicant isn't here, we'll move to the public hearing portion. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, we'll now close the public hearing portion. Is there any additional comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you call the vote?
Yes, Paulson,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Starhog,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Bartley,
Aye.
and Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Moving on, agenda item 2024, plat 023, plat of Clark Addition in southeast 1/4 of section 31, township 109, North Range 48W of 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Kleinjohn, second.
Second.
Second by Paulson. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, plat 2024, plat 023, Roy Clark Trust is platting off an existing 13.89 acre building site from the 160 acres they own. The building site consists of a house, grain beds and outbuildings, and a shelter belt. It meets the platting requirements of the 2016 comprehensive plan for the unincorporated areas on page 24 for agricultural land use. Here's the plat. There's the plat on the beacon map. Going around the perimeter of the trees, buildings, road on two sides. There's the beacon map showing it there. That's all that I have, and the applicant is not here this evening.
Thank you, Richard. If the applicant isn't here, we'll move to the public hearing portion. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, and I'll close the public hearing portion. Is there any additional comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you call vote?
Erickson,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Starhog,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Bartley,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
and Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Moving on, agenda item 2024, plat 024, plat of lots 1 and 2 of Clark Second Edition in the southwest 1/4 of section 20, township 110 North, range 49W of 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Vanderwall, second.
Second.
Second by Bartley. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, 2024, plat 024. The Verna Clark Trust is platting off Lot 1, which is 51.2 acres of farmland, and Lot 2 with 1.7 acres, an existing pole shed, and it has an access easement to Lot 1. Lot 2 cannot be used to build a house on it as it does not contain the 35-acre requirement. The property is located in the Brookings City, Brookings County Joint Jurisdictional Area on the east side of 34th Avenue. And it does meet the comprehensive plan of 2016 for the unincorporated ag use on page 24. This is the proposed plat. Whoop. This is Lot 1 with the 51 acres of farm ground. And this is Lot 2, showing with the access easement going across there. This is a beacon map with the plot, or the plat laid over top of it. Lot 1, the farmland. Lot 2, the proposed 1.7 acres with the building, existing building. It's basically going, this is Lot 2 that they're creating right there. That's all that I have, and the applicant is not here this evening.
Thank you. With the applicant here, we'll move to the public hearing. With the applicant not here, we'll move to the public hearing portion. Is anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, I'll now close the public hearing portion. Is there any additional comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing none, Richard, would you call the vote?
Yes, Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Storhog,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Bartley,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
and Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Moving on, agenda item 2024, plat 025, plat of lots 1 and 2 of Diedrich Addition in the northeast 1/4 of section 25, township 109 north, range 49W of the 5th prime meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Troyan, second.
Second.
Second by Paulson. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, 2024, plat 025, Sean Jocks is platting off Dietrich Addition into 2 lots. Lot 1 is a 10.5 acre existing building site, and Lot 2 is 38 acres of pasture and grassland. Dietrich Addition was platted on June 12th, 2002. It does meet the platting requirements of the 2016 comprehensive plan on page 24 for the agricultural land use. Here's the proposed plat. This is the existing building site. This is a grassland here, 38 acres. Here's the plat on the beacon map, showing the building site going there, kind of following the existing fence line that is there. And here's the beacon map showing the whole property. That's all that I have on the app. I do not believe the applicant is here this evening.
Thank you, Richard. Since the applicant is not here, we'll move to the public hearing portion. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, we'll now close the public hearing portion. Is there any additional comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing none, Richard, would you call the vote?
Yes, Vanderwall,
Aye.
Storhog,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Bartley,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
and Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We will now convene as the Brookings County Board of Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment is a 9-member board which has the power to hear requests for variances, conditional use, and appeals on non-ministerial decisions of the zoning officer. The concurring vote of 2/3 of the full board membership of the board, 6 votes is necessary for approval of a variance and repeal of the zoning officer. The concurring vote of a simple majority of those board members present and voting is necessary for approval of a conditional use permit. In accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, we require a motion to approve a request before it can be debated. As a matter of policy, all motions are made in the positive. The board, under specific powers granted to it by the state, shall authorize variances from the zoning requirements for special conditions existing on the land will result in an unnecessary hardship for the applicant. Financial disadvantage to the property owner does not constitute proof of an unnecessary hardship. Agenda item 2024, variance 019, Ty Eschenbaum has made an application 2024 variance 019 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for a variance Article 4 District Requirements, Chapter 4.03 LP Lake Park District, Section 4.03.03 Density Area and Yard Regulation, Minimum Lakefront. The property is described as lots 20 and 21 of the Marvin Wade Second Subdivision in the northeast 1/4 of Section 6, Township 112 North, Range 52W, Laketon Township, located at 268 South Lake Drive, Arlington, South Dakota 57212. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Vanderwall,
Second.
second by Erickson. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, 2024 variance 019, Ty Eschenbaum has applied for a lakefront variance to rebuild his 24-foot wide by 54-foot long existing residence in the same location from the foundation up. Rebuilding the main floor with a deck, adding a second story, a screen porch, and an outside storage area. The deck will be in the same location with the support post 10 feet from the highest known watermark, and by adding a second story on a Lake Ponset, a variance of 65 feet. The required setback is 75 feet from the highest known water elevation. He will meet the side yard setbacks of 8 feet and the roadside setback of 25 feet. The house was built in 1956, and the lots sizes are 50 by 50. The location of the existing house shows a property currently in the floodplain, and the applicant applied for and received a letter of map amendment, LOMA, from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, on August 24th, 2016, to remove the structure from the floodplain as it met the requirements. The applicant has had the property surveyed and completed a floodplain development permit, which is on file. And the proposed new house would need to be rebuilt with the specifications in the flood damage prevention ordinance as well as the Lake Park ordinance. Marvin Wade Second Subdivision was platted on October 17th, 1955, prior to the current Lake Park zoning ordinances. And public notices were published in the Brookings Register on October 22nd, 29th, 2024, the Volga Tribune and the Arlington Sun on October 24th and 31st, 2024. And letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, the Brookings County Highway Department, and the Laketon Township Chairman and Clerk. Here's the applicant's variance application. Here is a site plan showing the proposed structure with the additions, the high water elevation, the setback distance from the deck and the highest known water elevation is 10 feet. This is a proposed deck on here, which would be in the same location as it is existing. This is just the same thing, except it does not have the elevations marked on there, it just has the setback distances. This is his floor plan of the main floor, I believe. Going out to the lake, that would have been the basement, this is the main floor. This would be the second story. And here would be the screened-in porch in this area. Excuse me, this would be the screened-in porch area, and this would be the outside storage area to the west side here. This proposed elevation is what it would look like after it is completed. This would be from the roadside. This is a screen side porch. This would be the outside storage area, main floor, second story up here as shown. This would be the east-west elevation here where the outside storage area would be in this part. And this would be the east elevation with the screened-in porch. And this would be looking from the lake side, looking towards the south. Here's the beacon map showing the property. Small, narrow lot, 50-foot wide, total 100 would be 100 feet east to west along here. Average depth would be about 53 feet right in that area. This shows the red area, shows a floodplain. As you can see, the structure is not red, showing that that has been removed from the FEMA floodplain map through the LOMA application. Here's just this is looking towards the north on the west side of the property. This is where the proposed outside storage area would go. Just looking towards the front of the house from South Lake Drive, looking towards the north. This is the east side of the house, looking back up towards the south property line. This is where the edge of the screened-in porch would be approximately here. This is looking from the west side, looking towards the east, where the existing deck post is, where it will be replaced in that same location, which would be 10 feet from the highest known water mark. Shows the existing foundation in good shape here, newer style. The way it looks, everything appeared to be in good structural quality on there. This would be the highest known water mark is right here where the wheel is located. Kind of hard to see behind the grass right here, but from there to the support post to the deck is 10 feet. This is just looking back from the east side of the house, looking west. Will not block anybody's view. Looking up and down the lake shore, it'll be the existing same location. He's got his riprap along there for shoreline development on there. So this is just looking back towards the east. Looking that way, there is no structures. There's a big narrow strip where there is no structures along there, so there would be no limitations on visibility. This is would be the proposed west side of the outside storage area where the wheel is. This is the west property line right here. This is looking on the east side of the house where the wheel is would be the proposed east end of the screened-in porch. Property line is over here by this stake. This is just looking from the south end of the lot, looking north. The wheel's at the east end of the proposed screened-in porch area. Clear visibility on the road. This is just looking towards the northeast on there. This would be looking towards the northwest. That's all that I have, and the applicant is here this evening, so.
Clearly state your name and have a seat. Clearly state your name in the mic.
Ty Eschenbaum.
Do you have anything to add to Richard's report at this time?
Yeah, I can just give a little background. So this is my primary house. I've lived here for 8.5 years with the intent of always kind of fixing it up, which I have been, and rebuilding it. The upper part of the house was moved in and set on that foundation in 58 or 55, I think. And just with the insulation, electrical, plumbing, at this point, it just makes more sense to rebuild that upper level than keep trying to just finish it as is. So when I dug into it, came up with, well, might as well put a new main level and go up a level. And so the intent is to leave the foundation that's there just as it is, and put a new deck on, but to put the deck posts and the deck right where they are today. Likely will do a seawall and get the seawall elevation up to where the water district has that higher level, as some of my neighbors have done. I thought maybe if I could do that, leave it exactly how it is, that I wouldn't have to even get a variance, but naturally pretty much the whole lot is in variance territory based on the size of the lot. So here I am. And in the meantime, in the sidewalls, then that storage unit on the one side, and the screened-in porch on the east side. Then once I knew I was going to have to get a variance anyway, I just took those all the way out to, I think the side yard setback's like 8 feet. I took it out to like 10 or 12. So I think we're still in the clear there. It's really the lake side and back side that get us. But That's the intent. I'm actually closing on a contract for deed. Last payment will be in this coming January, and then I'll actually own 120 feet of the lot next door to the east. So that'll be, mine as well. So really, these lots have, the west side would be the closest neighbor, and that doesn't have a house on it as of today. So,
Okay. Any questions from members of the board at this time? You can go back to your seat.
what?
You can go back to your seat if you want.
Sounds good.
We'll move to the public hearing portion. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion. Any other comments or questions from members of the board? Richard, would you read the findings of facts?
Yes, we'll read this in its entirety, and if there's any more, we'll just read the highlighted areas as it applies to them. So, Brookings County zoning variance 2024, variance 019, an application for a variance having been filed with the Brookings County Zoning Commission, acting as the Brookings County Board of Adjustment, a copy of the application being attached here too. Such application being made by Ty Eschenbaum regarding the following real property. Lots 20 and 21 of Marvin Wade Second Subdivision in the northeast 1/4 of Section 6, Township 112 North, Range 52 West, Laketon Township. Located at 268 South Lake Drive, Arlington, South Dakota 57212. After due notice, a public hearing have been held on the application on the 7th day of November 2024. Number one, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment hereby finding that the strict application of the Brookings County's zoning ordinance would produce undue hardship, that such hardship is not shared generally by other properties in the same district in the same vicinity, and that the authorization of such variance will not be of such substantial detriment to the adjacent property and the character of the district will not be changed by the granting of the variance. That the granting of such variance is based upon reasons of demonstrable and exceptional hardship as distinguished from variations for the purpose of convenience, profit, and caprice. Number two, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finding that the conditions or situation of the property concerned or the intended use of the property is not so general or reoccurring of nature as to make reasonable, practicable the formulation of a general regulation to be adopted as an amendment to the zoning ordinance. Number three, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finding that the written application of the petitioner demonstrates that special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or buildings in the same district, that literal interpretations of the provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the terms of this ordinance, that the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant, and that the granting of the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the ordinance to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same district. Number four, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finding that the reasons set forth in the application justify the granting of the variance, that the variance is a minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structures, that the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and the intent of the Brookings County zoning ordinance, will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. Number five, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further determines and conditions this variance upon the following special conditions or safeguards. A, the house was built in its current location in 1956, prior to the current Lake Park zoning setback requirements. B, Marvin Wade Second Subdivision was platted on October 17, 1955. The individual lots are 50 foot wide and approximately 53 feet 5 inches deep for a combined total lot width of 100 feet by 53.5 feet for lots 20, and 21. C, the property currently shows in the floodplain. The applicant applied and was approved a letter of map amendment dated August 24, 2016 by the Federal Emergency Management Agency as it met the requirements to remove the structure from the current flood insurance study map and the flood insurance rate map, the firm dated July 16, 2008. The applicant has completed a Brookings County floodplain development permit and it is on file. The Brookings County Board of Adjustment, by at least 2/3 vote of its full membership, Hereby grants the above petitioner a variance for the above described real property as follows: to rebuild his 24-foot by 50-foot residence from the existing foundation up by rebuilding the main floor with a deck, adding a second story with a deck, 2 additions consisting of a screen porch and an outside storage area. The deck support post will be 10 foot away from the highest known water elevation in the same location that is currently located, a variance of 65 feet. This variance is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all conditions and safeguards in 5 above, upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County zoning director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the terms of this variance. If this variance is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated the 7th day of November 2024.
Are there any additions or corrections to the findings of facts? Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you call the vote?
Does the board concur?
Paulson's getting it.
Mr. Chair, I find that this application meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance as long as the findings of the facts are followed, so I concur with the findings of the facts.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. Now would you call the vote?
Starhog,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Bartley,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
and Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Moving on, agenda item 2024 CU 006. Tim Richards has made an application 2024 CU 006 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for a conditional use permit, Article 4 District Requirements, Chapter 4.03 LP Lake Park District, Section 4.03.02, Conditional Uses Permit Number 6, accessory building with a sidewall greater than 14 feet or more than 2,000 square feet, and a used accessory building greater than 120 square feet. The property is described as Block 2 of Berkland Addition, located in a portion of Government Lot 2 in the southwest 1/4 of Section 28, Township 109 North, Range 50W. Is there a motion? Motion by Jensen. Second?
Second.
Second by Paulson. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, 2024 CU 006. Tim Rickards has applied for a Lake Park conditional use number 6 for a used accessory building greater than 120 square feet in size to move in a used 16 by 18 storage shed with an 8 by 16 covered porch or deck. Public notices are published in the Brookings Register on October 22nd and 29th, 2024, and the Volga Tribune on October 24th and 31st, 2024. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners and the Madera Township Chairman and Clerk. Here is the applicant's conditional use application. Here's his site plan. This would be Lake Shore Drive along the southeast, southwest portion of the lot. This is Block 2 of Berkland Addition, kind of halfway back in the lot there. This is a plat of the Lot 2. This is Lake Shore Drive right here. This is a road that was just newly built, 468th Avenue, towards the back side. Block 2 is right here, and this is where the Richards are, across the road right there. This was just platted here this past summer, so it does not show up on the Beacon map yet as being, won't show up down there till next year. Well, this is a whole parcel that was just that property was platted out of in this area right in here. Some photos of the area. Just looking towards the southwest on the front of the lot along Lake Shore Drive. This would be looking west, northwest. This would be the front of the building that they had moved in there, setting down on there. This would be looking towards the northeast, going back from that. This is just kind of looking to the northeast, working on getting the exterior in place, fixing it up a little bit, improving the looks of the building on there. And this is just looking towards the west on the other side of it. So that's all that I have, and I believe the applicant is here this evening, so.
Would you please come forward, have a seat, and clearly state your name into the mic?
Excuse me, we did receive letters which you have from adjoining landowners, which you received in your staff report this evening also, so.
Tim Richards.
Do you have anything to add to Richard's report?
Not
Nothing really?
particularly.
Okay, is there any comments or questions from members of the board at this time? You can go back to your chair now. Seeing no questions from members of the board, we'll move to the public hearing portion. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? That's what the letters. Seeing and hearing none, we'll now close the public hearing portion. Is there any additional comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you read the findings of facts?
This one is a conditional use, so this will have to read also in its entirety, and then any other ones this evening will read the highlighted areas. Brookings County Zoning Conditional Use Permit number 2024 CU006, an application for a conditional use permit have been filed with the Brookings County Zoning Commission, acting as the Board of Adjustment, a copy of the application being attached here too. Such application be made by Tim Richards regarding the following real property. Block 2 of Brooklyn Addition, located in a portion of Government Lot 2 in the southwest 1/4 of Section 28, Township 109 North, Range 50 West, Madera Township. After due notice, a public hearing have been held on the application on the 7th day of November, 2024. Number 1, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment hereby finding that it is empowered to grant such a conditional use on the following sections of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. Article 4, District Regulations, Chapter 4.03, LP, Lake Park District, Section 4.0302, Conditional Uses, Permit Number 6. Accessory buildings with a sidewall greater than 14 feet or more than 2,000 square feet, and use accessory buildings greater than 120 square feet. And further finding that the granting of the conditional use will not adversely affect the public interest. Number 2, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finds and certifies that the following specific rules governing the conditional use request have been complied with. Applicant applied for a Lake Park conditional use permit. Number 3, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finds that satisfactory provisions and arrangements have been made concerning the following where applicable. A, entrance and exit to the property, proposed structures thereon with particular reference to automotive and pedestrian safety, convenience, traffic flow, control, and access in case of fire or catastrophe. We'll use a driveway on Lake Shore Drive, just Lake Shore Drive. B, off-street parking and loading areas were required with particular attention to items in A above and economic, noise, glare, or other effects of the conditional use on the adjoining properties and properties generally in the district. None stated. C, utilities, refuge, and service areas with reference to locations availability. Dumpster service required. You just probably use a dumpster service now for your existing garbage that you have. You use a janitor service or a dumpster service for your garbage or household trash.
We just bring it home with us. We're only there for the weekends usually.
Okay. So we can take. None stated. Screening and buffering with reference to type, dimensions, and character. None stated. Signs, if any, proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony with properties in the district. None stated. Required yards and other open spaces. None stated. G, general compatibility with adjacent properties and other properties in the district. 2000 comprehensive plan met for the Lake Park District. H, roads providing access to the property are adequate to meet the transportation demands of the proposed conditional use. And the Board of Adjustment may require the applicant to enter into a written contract with any affected township or other governmental unit regarding the upgrading or continued maintenance of any roads used for the conditional use requested prior to the issuance of a conditional use. Lake Shore Drive meets the transportation requirements. I, any required notification to law enforcement or fire department? None stated. J, any safety inspections? Any inspections required for building permits? Number 4, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further determines and conditions its conditional use upon the following additional specific special conditions or safeguards. A, building permit required and exterior renovations to be completed by November 7th, 2025. The Brookings County Board of Adjustment, by at least a majority vote of its full members present, hereby grants the petitioner a conditional use permit for the above described real property as follows. Moved in a used 16-foot by 18-foot accessory building. This conditional use permit is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the requirements and conditions in 3 and 4 above, and upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County zoning director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the requirements of this conditional use. If this conditional use is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated the 7th day of November, 2024.
Were there any additions or corrections to the findings of facts? You're up again, Paulson.
Oh, gotcha. Mr. Chair, I find that this application meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance as long as the findings of the facts are followed, so I concur with the findings of the facts.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. Richard, would you call the vote?
Troyan.
Aye.
Jensen. Yes. Bartley.
Aye.
Paulson.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Starhog.
Aye.
And Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Moving on, agenda item 2024 CU 007. Cloverleaf Best LLC, wholly owned subsidiary of Spearmint Renewable Development Company LLC, has made an application 2024 CU 007 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for a conditional use permit, Article 4, District Requirements, Chapter 4.01A, Agricultural Land District, Section 4.01.04. Conditional uses number 2, public utility and public service structures, including substations, gas regulatory stations, community equipment building, and pumping stations. The property is described as the southwest 1/4 of Section 30, Township 111 North, Range 47W, Richland Township. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Vanderwall, second. Second by Jensen. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, 2024 CU 007, Cloverleaf Best LLC, a wholly owned subsidiary of Spearmint Renewables Development Company LLC, has applied for conditional use number 22, public utility and public service structures, including substations for electrical substation, for battery energy storage facility for up to 175 megawatts of storage, underground electrical cables, overhead transmission lines, and operations and maintenance building. The applicant has a lease agreement on a proposed 15 plus or minus acre fenced-in substation battery storage area with the property owners and be located but not limited to in the western 50 acres of the 160-acre parcel. The property is current farm ground, and the battery storage would be inside a series of weatherproof enclosures that would be individually moved in and out as needed. The batteries will be monitored on-site and remotely and will have built-in safety systems. Electricity stored in the batteries would be from electricity produced in the area. The battery storage substation would be connected to a regional electrical substation that would then use the stored energy in the batteries as the demand requires. The area would have 175 megawatts of battery storage, an electrical substation, operations and maintenance building with a small parking area, designated drainage area and basins, security fencing. Also included is a temporary construction laydown yard for the storage of materials during the construction phase of the project. The project is located on 484th Avenue, which is also known as Brookings County Blacktop Road number 36. The proposed project is adjacent to transmission lines on a federal electrical substation. The applicant will use overhead and underground transmission lines to connect to the electrical substations. The complete conditional use application was attached as a separate attachment to this report, and public notices were published in the Brookings Register on October 22nd and 29th, 2024, and the Elkton Record on October 24th and 31st, 2024. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, to Richland and Sherman Township chairman and clerks, and the Brookings County Highway Department. This is the applicant's conditional use application. This is their site plan. This would be the proposed laydown area. This is a proposed electrical substation down driveway going in here to the O&M building. This would be retention pond and drainage area. This would be the battery storage units in this area. And perimeter fencing around the whole property there. It's just the same thing with the elevations marked on that. This is the proposed site plan on their site map in this southwest corner of the property. This is a whole 160 acres. This is where the proposed area would be. This pictures, this is looking from south from a proposed entrance off of 484th Avenue, which also is known at Brookings County number 36. This would be towards the north end of the project area. This is just looking towards the north here. Well, this is looking south from the north end. This is looking north from that same location. There, clean, wide open spaces, no obstruction of visibility. This would be towards the north end of the property. Flat land, grass, currently farm ground. This is looking towards the east on there. Just some more pictures of that. This is looking north from the south end of the property. I made just good flat area on there. It's currently farm ground. This is at the south end of the property or right here. And that's all that I have, and the applicant is here this evening.
Thank you, Richard. If the applicant step forward, clearly state your name into the mic.
Hello, my name is Blake Johnson with Spearmint Energy.
Do you have anything to add to Richard's report at this time?
I do. I have a presentation. Just curious if there's any.
Use that HDMI cord.
Yeah,
to
is there
plug in
any
and out.
time constraint that I should be aware of?
Like, how long are we talking here?
Like 20 minutes. I could make it shorter if 20 is too long.
Shorten it up, if you could.
Will do. Oh, all right. Perfect. Well, appreciate everyone's time tonight. Again, my name is Blake Johnson. I'm the lead developer for our battery energy storage system project, which is named Cloverleaf BESS. I'm a representative of Spearmint Energy, and we are requesting a conditional use permit. So Spearmint Energy, we focus on standalone battery energy storage systems, or BESS. We're a US-based company headquartered out of Miami, Florida. I'm out of our Eden Prairie office just outside of Minneapolis. More globally, we have 20 projects plus in development, totaling over 10 gigawatt hours of energy across 10 states and 4 regions. We have one project operating, which is on the right hand of the screen. That's called a Revolution project, and then 2 projects in construction. So why are we here? I introduced myself, want to introduce 2 others. We have Jenny Dean, who is sitting right next to me back there. She's our permitting consultant for this project. Jenny works with me on all of our Midwest developments. She's been around, ever since we started discussing this with the county in June. And be a great resource if there are any environmentally related questions. And then we have Evan Balcom as well. He's with a group called Fire and Risk Alliance. Anything safety, anything emergency response, he'll be able to answer that for you. And he is also a member of the New York Fire Department. So we are requesting a CUP for our battery energy storage system project under a public utility and public service structure. The project itself is 175 megawatts with 4-hour duration, making it a 700 megawatt hour facility. Very dense footprint. It sits on about 15 acres. And again, it's standalone, so it's not co-located with any electrical generation, and is within Brookings County's energy sector. So just to talk about what BESS is, have a depiction on the right, which is very simplistic, but just gives you an understanding of how a standalone facility operates within the grid, or within this structure, operating directly with the grid. The battery, or the BESS itself, it's essentially a big storage container with racks holding batteries inside. Those batteries store electricity, charging when there is low demand and high supply, and then discharging when there's high demand. So times when people are getting off of work and starting to cook dinner, and there's those peaks in demand. Maybe there aren't, the wind isn't blowing, or if there were solar resources, it's a cloudy day, and so battery storage really helps to levelize the supply and demand from an electrical standpoint. And then just to touch on the 3 items in the bottom left-hand corner, BESS really do help with grid stability and emergency response in response to blackouts and brownouts. And then just from a stability standpoint, helps the current infrastructure operate better and longer. This is 2 images of what BESS looks like. This is from our Revolution project in Texas. And yeah, just want to talk a little bit about the community benefits and the engagement we've done to date. The 4 main items, which I've already touched on a few of them, but as far as benefits are concerned, this project will generate tax revenue for the county. It does support regional growth in terms of both population and load on the grid. And then from a stability standpoint and a reduction in the need for grid upgrades, BESS are a wonderful resource to alleviate those concerns. And then just, what have we done today? Want to touch on 3 of these really quick. We've been working with, we've been developing this project for over a year, but been working with planning and zoning since June, really dialing in what would the concerns be, what are the items we should really be hitting on as far as like this presentation and our CUP application, and have had great coordination so far. We also first introduced Evan to the project during our meeting with both the Brookings Fire Department and the Elkton Volunteer Fire Department. Understanding safety is a main concern for infrastructure like this. We wanted to make sure they have all the information they need to feel comfortable with this development. So we did an informational session and then followed up with a Q&A. which that went really well. And then neighboring landowners, our landowners, the Lifermans have been wonderful to work with. They've been a great resource in reaching out to neighboring landowners. Us being owners and operators of the assets we develop, wanted to be good neighbors, and so certainly wanted to make sure the first time that neighboring landowners are hearing about the project isn't from the newspaper or a letter from the county. So we attempted calls and reached almost everyone, had really good discussions, and there really weren't any major concerns brought up during that time. So from a siting perspective, just to give a little bit of a better depiction on where we're at in the county, and then this is the map Richard showed earlier, and then just some of the benefits. Obviously, we're in the energy sector in Brookings County. There's Deer Creek Power Station right there. There's a backdrop of 4 wind farms, 3 substations, transmission infrastructure. It just really makes sense for a technology like this to be sited in this location. And then just from a construction standpoint, rather flat site, very minimal grading will be needed. There haven't been any environmental risks identified from the studies we've completed. And one of the items that Planning and Zoning brought up was the Aquifer Protection Zone, which we are outside of with our site plan. And then just from a design, I'll just touch on this one super quickly since Richard kind of did a walkthrough already. This is just everything that will be placed on site. This is a conceptual site plan, but a really good depiction of how this would be laid out. As far as constraints on the site itself, the whole CUP area is 50 acres, but if you were to just look at where can be constructed and what existing infrastructure is on site, we really only have about the 15 acres. So this may change a bit, but as far as location's concerned, there won't be any significant changes. And then just from a timeline perspective, this gives you a really good idea of where we're at in the development process, being the conditional use permit portion at the end of 2024, and then just kind of throughout the life of the development process till we hit construction and then operations. I just want to highlight the interconnection agreement signed piece. So this whole schedule is very much based off of that. Depending on where you're at in the country, where you're at in a region, interconnection timelines can be 3 years, they could be 9 to 10 years. Luckily, we're not in that a region like that. Working with SPP, but those are timelines that certainly do push. And so, from what they're projecting today, that's why we are here today, and that's why we're showing the schedule we are right now. And then just construction. So on the left, we have construction of our Revolution project in Crane County, Texas. And then just wanted to hit on road use. I know I used to work in the wind industry and the solar industry. I know that's a piece that comes up as far as companies coming in, and there is some wear and tear on the roads, and I've heard good stories for after construction. I've also heard bad stories. We sat down with the highway department and had a really good discussion, talking about what permits will be needed before pulling our building permits, what a haul route would look like, and what their preference would be for that. And then just the fact that we'll have to put a road use agreement together prior to pulling our building permits. Very much our intention to not negatively impact the existing roads and leave them to their pre-cloverleaf construction state. And then operations. So these facilities operate pretty independently of human interaction. They are monitored and operated remotely. We will have someone local to respond to any maintenance issues. That's the reason we have the O&M facility on site, is to keep spare parts and things like that. And then in our Minneapolis office, we actually have an ops department that will be monitoring all of our assets remotely at that location. Main point of their job is to forecast any maintenance that may be required, just to make sure we're being proactive. Certainly helps from a safety perspective as well. And then these facilities, they do have some minimal noise, probably be pretty comparable to an electrical substation. zero pollution and no undue burden on local resources. And then from a safety perspective, again, I'll mention, we do have Evan Balcom here. He'll be able to answer any safety-related question that you do have. This is an industry that has matured quite a bit over the past several years, learned from its mistakes, and these are assets that do operate very well today. Again, they're monitored 24/7, and they have all the detection systems and everything needed to effectively monitor for any malfunctions or anything like that. And then from a safety considerations perspective, again, safety's, our top priority. It truly is. It's the reason we had our second outreach, locally was to the fire department. We want to work with them to create an emergency response plan before pulling our building permit. And then, through the rest of this development process into construction, into operations, we want to be working very closely with them, so that they understand every component of these facilities, exactly how to respond if there is an instance, just so everyone's on the same page. I always say, we are developing this with every intent of nothing happening, but that isn't a reason to not have those conversations. And so we want to be proactive and give you all the comfort that, we're doing our due diligence on the front end as well. And then decommissioning, just like the wind facilities, at the end of the useful life of the project, we'll be removing all infrastructure from the site. This is something we've chatted about quite a bit with the landowner, as I'm sure you can imagine. Would be our intent to, remove everything from the project site and then return it to its pre-construction condition. So again, Cloverleaf Best is requesting a conditional use permit from Brookings County. Cloverleaf Best is compliant with the Brookings County Ordinance 2024-01, Section 4.01.04, under Use 22, allowing for a conditional approval of BESS as a public utility and public service structure. And thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments from members of the board?
How long do you guys expect those batteries to last before needing decommissioned?
Yeah, so right now, they have an expected lifespan of 20 years. That's talking about today. Once we hit construction and start that procurement process, technology changes, gets more efficient. So, but yeah, today would kind of earmark that 20-year timeline.
Are there any other questions or comments from members of the board?
What type of battery do you use?
Yeah, so again, we're a little ways out from procurement, so I can't give you anything too definitive. Lithium-ion batteries are the industry standard today. Certainly would be our intent to use that if we were constructing this today. And just something we'll have to kind of monitor once we near construction and start those procurement efforts.
Any other additional comments or questions from members of the board?
Mr. Chairman, what's the decibel rating of the substation once it's the noise when it's in use there versus compared to like wind farms or
Yeah, so it's,
the decibel rating?
yeah, obviously depends how close you are to it. I think it's supposed to be around 40 to 50 decibels, and we are currently getting a noise study completed with a group called named Epsilon. So we should have that hopefully before the end of the year, and yeah, as part of our review process from a permitting perspective. But that's a good benchmark, I guess, would be the 40 to 50 decibel mark.
Thank you.
Just a quick question on the battery life of 20 years. Obviously, as you stated, you may not, in the procurement process, go lithium if there's something new and innovative that would work better or less expensively. As these batteries sit there and one goes bad for whatever reason, you have a process for removing that battery from a container. Is the entire container moved and another one brought in? How do you manage the batteries if you have some issues with them?
Yeah, so each of the batteries, again, are held in those racks, and so yeah, you can, if one specific battery malfunctions, you can remove that and replace it without replacing the whole enclosure.
Okay, thank you.
What kind of, what kind of voltage are you dealing with on your batteries?
Yeah, so for the batteries specifically, like each specific battery, I would answer that we are working at the 115 kV level from the substation to the grid. That's where we'll have the overhead transmission that runs from our project across the road to the substations.
So your source of charging is primarily Deer Creek?
It'd be directly from the substations themselves. So the electricity that's put onto the grid, we would charge from the substation directly. And essentially so a little bit more on Spearmint itself. It was started as an energy trading company. I think after a while they realized it would make sense to own some of the assets that they were trading, and so started the development arm of the business. And so that's where everyone in the Miami office, that's a lot of what they do, is determining when to charge, when it makes sense from a pricing perspective, and then when to discharge back onto the grid.
So you wouldn't necessarily see any advantage to a discharge to Brookings Utilities or any of the communities around there? It just goes back to the grid and you could sell it wherever.
So we're interacting directly with the grid. I wouldn't say there isn't a benefit. We're able to discharge cheaper electricity at points where there is that peak demand. And so in essence, it would be cheaper electricity. Obviously for us to do that and to make money, we would be selling that at a premium. But still, the intent would be at those times where there is that peak demand, we'd be selling it at cheaper than what it could be produced at that time.
It's kind of an alternative as I look at it. You're going to use batteries to handle peak loads, along with Deer Creek Station can use, that was a peaking plant to begin with. So both of you will be competing with the same substation to put power in, take power out. Well, the grid takes power in, takes power out, so you're going to be competing with Deer Creek to sell your power back.
Yeah,
It's just another way of having a peaking station, is what I want to understand.
yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I did have a pretty good discussion with John Leiferman, our landowner, about this. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. From my understanding, there's plenty of electricity generation in that area specifically, to the point where some of those wind facilities are paying to have their energy offloaded, so that they can hit their production tax credits and keep their systems producing electricity. So yes, but I think there's plenty of room for both to operate harmoniously.
I was at a groundbreaking for a solar project yesterday, and day before yesterday. It was yesterday. Anyway, in Brookings County. And that will be connected to the substation that Brookings Utilities owns, but not necessarily only for the Brookings utility. It's part of the Missouri River Basin electric power grid. So it's going to go into a grid and, again, be distributed by Missouri Basin. So just to get me a picture of why batteries and why there, I got the picture. Thank you.
Perfect.
Are there any additional comments or questions from members of the board at this time? Seeing none, you can go back to your seat for a minute. We gotta do the public hearing portion. I'll now move on to the public hearing portion. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none. Is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, I'll now close the public hearing portion and move back to the board for additional comments or questions. Is there any additional comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you read the findings of facts?
Yes, Brookings County zoning conditional use permit 2024 CU 007, an application for a conditional use permit have been filed with the Brookings County Zoning Commission acting as a board of adjustment. Copy of the application being attached here too. Such application being made by Cloverleaf Bess LLC, a wholly owned subsidiary of Spearmint Renewable Development Company LLC, regarding the following real property: the southwest 1/4 of Section 30, Township 111 North, Range 47 West, 50 Township, Richland Township. After due notice, a public hearing have been held on the application on the 7th day of November 2024. Number one, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further findings that it is empowered to grant such conditional use under the following sections of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. Brookings County zoning ordinance, Article 4, District Requirements, Chapter 4.01, A, Agricultural Land District, Section 4.0104, Conditional use number 22, public utility and public service structures, including substations, gas regulator stations, community equipment buildings, and pumping stations, and further finding that the granting of the conditional use will not adversely affect the public interest. Number two, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finds and certifies that the following specific rules governing the conditional use requested have been complied with, none stated. Number three, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment hereby further finds that satisfactory provisions and arrangements have been made concerning the following where applicable. A, entrance and exit to the property and proposed structure therein with particular reference to automotive and pedestrian safety and convenience, traffic flow control, and access in case of fire or catastrophe. 2 driveways and 1 temporary driveway for a laydown yard during the construction phase of 484th Avenue, otherwise known as Brookings County Road number 36. B, off-street parking and loading areas were required with particular attention to items in A above and economic, noise, glare, or other effects of the conditional use on adjoining properties and properties generally in the district. No on-street parking. Best management practices for wind erosion and dust control of the laydown yard during the construction phase of the project. C, utilities, refuge, and service areas with reference to locations, availability, and compatibility. Dumpster service required for garbage disposal during the construction phase and during normal operation when construction is completed. D, screening and buffering with reference to type, dimensions, and character. Install and maintain perimeter fencing as per the site plan. Maintain designated drainage and basin areas as per the site plan. E, signs, if any, and proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony of the properties in the district. 32 square foot sign allowed, and any required safety signs for electrical substations and emergency contact information. F, required yards and other open spaces, none stated. G, general compatibility with adjacent properties and other properties in the district. Comprehensive plan met for the agricultural district. H, roads providing access to the property are adequate to meet the transportation demands of the proposed conditional use. The Board of Adjustment may require the applicant to enter into a written contract with any affected township or other governmental unit regarding the upgrading and continued maintenance of any roads, continued use for the conditional use request prior to the issuance of a conditional use. 484th Avenue, otherwise known as Brookings County Road number 36, is a Brookings County blacktop road and meets the transportation requirements of the conditional use request. I, any required notifications to law enforcement or the fire department. Notification of Brookings County 911 or Brookings County Emergency Management of any hazardous materials or chemical spills. J, any safety inspections. Any required safety inspections during the construction and operation of electrical substation with battery storage. Number 4, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further determines and conditions this conditional use upon the following additional special conditions or safeguards. A, 2 driveways, 1 for entrance and exits, and 1 temporary driveway for the laydown yard during the construction phase. B, electrical substation battery storage to be located in the southwest 1/4 of Section 30, Township 111 North, Range 47 West, but not limited to the western 50 acres of the southwest 1/4 of Section 30, Township 110 North, Range 47 West of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota, and have a lease agreement with the current landowners. That's just saying basically if they get to their final siting project, siting of the area, and it calls for 52 acres instead of 50, that they're allowed to go outside that, being it's in the whole southwest quarter. And they would not have to reapply for the conditional use requests if for some reason it gets larger than that. That's why that is stated in there. Copy of any road use agreement with any governmental entity to be on file with the Brookings County Development Office. D, the board determines this use meets the definition of an electric substation and an electric utility as defined in Article 2 of definitions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. The Brookings County Board of Adjustment, by at least a majority vote of its full membership, hereby grants the above petitioner a conditional use permit for the above described property as follows. Conditional use number 22 for an electrical battery storage substation, laydown yard during the construction phase, an operation and maintenance building with a parking area, overhead and underground transmission lines for interconnection with other electrical substations. This conditional use is especially conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the requirements and the conditions in 3 and 4 above, and upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County zoning director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the requirements of this conditional use request. If this conditional use permit is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated the 7th day of November, 2024.
Are there any additions or corrections to the findings of facts?
Mr. Chair, could I address something here quick?
Please,
Since
sir.
I'm here. I'm Luke Muller with First District Association Local Governments, and I wanted to give just a quick information and then one thing just to make sure that you guys address, or at the very least know that is important on there. I was a zoning officer in Cottington County where we issued a permit for a similar facility. After hearing it, issuing the permit, rehearing it, reissuing the permit, going to circuit court on an appeal, and then ultimately having that appeal upheld on our side as far as issuing the permit. So the bottom line is that it is a thing you can issue a permit for. In that grounds, one of the main things that was important was for the board to be considering whether or not this is a thing you can issue a permit for. Specifically, scrolling down a little bit, I think, Richard, just the very last thing that Richard read, that part that's in bold. Just making sure that that particular use is one that you feel comfortable issuing a permit for, that it's a listed use in your ordinance. If you feel like it's one of those, basically the rest of the questions are like any other permit you would issue. And ultimately in Cottington County, some of the dialogue about how that works and going back and forth, what they ultimately looked at it as is a lot closer to more or less grain bins for a farmer or an elevator for farm setup, because what they're doing is they're storing that energy for a day in which it's needed a little bit more. So ultimately that's how that board decided that it was appropriate. So anyway, that is it, and I think staff's done the due diligence to find that as well, just for what it's worth. So just verify that it's a listed use, and I think you're there.
You can see I have listed up there the electric utility and electrical substations. If you read those definitions, that's where the basis of this permit is being based off of, those definitions right there.
You stated those are the findings of fact?
Yes, they're under number D right here. The board
Mr.
determines.
Chairman, if I may, and also since it is hooking into the main power grid, it also reinforces the usage of this under our zoning ordinance, in my opinion.
Yes, I would say one thing that's slightly different in your ordinance as opposed to that ordinance they had in Cottington County is that yours does specifically list that it can be accessory to the primary, I'm going to call it grid, but as long as it's connected to the overhead lines, it's then a part of that system. So your ordinance is slightly different. Bottom line is, what I'm seeing on here is that you got 3 ways you can issue this permit. You're checkmate in 3 ways, so it looks like you're meeting it.
Well, thank you, Luke.
Mr. Chair, I find that this application meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance as long as the findings of the facts are followed, so I can concur with the findings of the facts.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. Richard, would you call the vote?
Yes. Jensen.
Yes.
Bartley.
Aye.
Paulson.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Storhog.
Aye.
Troyan.
Aye.
And Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on, department reports?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll start. Today, the Centers for Disease Control issued another finding on this bird flu update. And throughout the country, there's been dairy farms where people's been affected and poultry farms. And what the CDC is saying now is if you've got a farm that has the disease, you can't just test the people that's showing symptoms. They're finding that some of the people working at those farms are getting the bird flu and just not knowing it because it doesn't show the symptoms on them. So the CDC put out new guidelines to test all the workers at the farms where the bird flu occurs. We haven't had no cases in Brookings County, but just in case we start to hear it, you'll see some massive testing going on of all employees if it happens. And so far, the good word is there's been no exposure from human to human. It's all from the birds to the people, or from the cows to the people. And one of the odd things is most of it's in the eyes, so something to do with whatever byproduct comes from chickens and cows that gets into your eyes, probably some sort of misting. But, and that's all I got, and Richard should have some more for you.
Yes, last month you approved a plat, 2024-018 for a building site. Since that approval, the applicant has decided to withdraw his plat and request and not subdivide his property, and that plat did not go to the county commission with the other plats. He sent a email saying, "Good morning, Richard. Per our conversation, please pull my plat not to go to the county commission for final approval. I have decided not to separate the property. If you have any questions, you can reach me." So I will need a motion to withdraw that plat from the approval of the October meeting, and we will vote on that, saying we approve the pulling of his plat for we have a record.
And Mr. Chairman, what's so important about this motion is this gentleman in 30 years can't just pull the plat out and say, here, this was approved by the zoning board in 2024, now it's 2044, and I want the plat to be processed by the Registry of Deeds. By the process, Mr. Hagen, that would keep this from happening. We had that happen one time years ago.
Is there a motion to approve the withdrawal of the plat?
So moved.
Motion by Paulson,
Second.
second by Vanderwall. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. That's all we had to do.
That is it. The commission did approve a appointment for the zoning board vacancy this morning. The new board member will be Cody Clark. Spencer Dietrich decided not to run again, so Cody will be the new board member on January 1. So as of right now, we have a light agenda for the December meeting, so we'll be at 7 o'clock again, so.
And we'll have cupcakes according to Miss Maher.
I believe that's all that I have.
Any reason for an executive session?
No, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Vanderwall. Second by Barley. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.